Today we are going on a very exciting trip. We are actually going overseas for 2 months until around mid-September sometime, and we are going to
New Zealand. Going to be doing a bit of a road trip, I guess. This is something that we've been wanting to do for about 5 years. We're going to
long time.
hire a van and drive around both the South and North Island.
In July 2019, we unknowingly embarked on what would be our last overseas trip for at least 2 years. For over 2 months, we travelled around New Zealand in a camper van. This time was the freest we'd ever felt in our lives. We had no schedule, no plan, and what seemed like endless time. Each day was new and exciting, and we witnessed some of the most beautiful places we'd ever been to.
For those of you who don't know us very well, we've been documenting and filming our travels for nearly 5 years now.
We have just arrived at Gardens by the Bay, and it's huge! And this is just like one part of it.
We started this channel as a passion project, and our love for travel really opened up the world of vlogging. When we returned home from New Zealand, we finally fulfilled a dream of getting a dog together. We got a whippet puppy and we named her Suki.
With, but let her settle and then she might sleep
After getting Suki, we'd planned to take a break from travelling overseas and to use this time to save money for a house. So we moved back home to New South Wales from Melbourne and finally started to explore the options of travelling domestically with our new whippet.
We've actually been starting to pack up our house because we're moving back to Sydney. Our place is a little bit messy at the moment. This room's not too bad, but the back room is like an absolute mess.
Yep.
We had really enjoyed camping and were getting really excited to pivot into this new way of travelling. The spring-summer of 2019-2020 for most Australians was a difficult one. The Black Summer bushfires raged on for many months, and most Australians were affected in some way or another. Travelling was completely out of the question, and most people were trying to focus on saving their homes, their livelihoods, and even their families.
And in early 2020, we all know what happened next. The world was changed by the coronavirus pandemic. We went from living some of the best years of our lives, living in the freedom of our travels, to being confined to our own homes.
Although our initial lockdown in Sydney only lasted a month or so, there was a lingering anxiety of the outbreaks for the remainder of 2020. Could we travel? Should we travel? And what would happen if our own state borders shut permanently and we couldn't get home?
We started to make content that felt unfinished. We were unhappy with how stale our videos were beginning to feel. Currently on the Hokitika Gorge Bridge, and as you can see behind, the water is so blue. Actually, the camera doesn't do it any justice, it's so beautiful. Both sides and the cliff faces. Oh, this is magical. No longer were we creating videos that we enjoyed making, the beautiful experiences we could share with the world. Now we were reduced to sitting in our parents' garage and simply talking about previous trips. But in early 2021, things started to look up again.
In January, after 8 years of knowing each other, we got engaged. Then in February, after more than 6 months of attempts, rejection and anxious waits, we finally bought our first home. You might see that there's a new backdrop behind us, and that is because we've actually bought our first home. So that's really exciting. And as an added bonus, we finally got to travel again. I turned 30 in April, and we had the most amazing time traveling in Tasmania for nearly 2 weeks. Something we look back on now and we were very grateful for in 2021.
We were finally able to travel and vlog again and have that sense of freedom we hadn't felt since 2019. And then came along June 2021. The Delta strain had made its way into Australia. Once again we were thrown back into lockdown. A lockdown that was supposed to last only 2 weeks lasted instead for nearly 4 months. Once again our lives had changed, but this time it was much worse.
I think we were outside for probably over 2 hours, just going on a really nice long walk today. I highly recommend doing this if you are stuck in lockdown like us at the moment, because it really just helps you take your mind off everything that's going on right now with coronavirus especially, and to be honest, a lot of bad news going on in the world. So it's a really good way to sort of clear your mind, and we're hoping to continue doing this. I'm thinking our restrictions are going to get a little bit harsher though as time goes on. But yeah, we wanted to apologize as well, because we just haven't been posting much content lately, and it's such a shame because we just haven't been able to have YouTube as our priority. We've had to work on other things, and I've had to work on my other YouTube channel. I've had to work on other things that will make us money during this time, because obviously it's a lot harder, and hopefully things will be looking up in the next few months.
As the lockdown wore on, our mental health suffered, and the lack of certainty and the ability to travel started to affect us more than we felt it ever could. We started to feel guilty that we couldn't give our dog the opportunity to go on fun and exciting trips. Not that she ever really minded. So we continued giving her daily hour walks within our limited area, and we went from travelling the world to being limited to a 5-kilometre radius. The isolation this time around was hard.
In the previous lockdown, we were living with Kayleigh's parents and her brother. So we often had people around us to support us in our hard times and socialise with. But this time it was just the two of us. I worked away from home for more than half the week, so most of the time Kayleigh was at home by herself. The days passed by, and although many of them were very difficult, we started to get used to this strange new normal.
We started meditation daily and learning about Stoic practices to help us not dwell on the things that we couldn't control. And then finally, the lockdown ended. Suddenly, international travel was open again. State borders were no longer closed, and the prospect of travel was a reality again. We started to reflect a lot on our experiences in lockdown, and began to appreciate our time together and all of those trips we'd made in the past. We took a step back from work and realised again why we started Wanderwalkers. We also started to feel the inspiration again to film.
Although we haven't been on camera a lot in the past 2 years, and we haven't had the opportunity to create the content we wanted to, we want to focus on all the positive things. So, what's happened in the last 2 years? We've worked really hard to change our mindsets that have allowed us to really recognize what's important to us. And those important things to us are togetherness and freedom.
So let's move on to 2022. Not everything is going to be back to normal, but we want to create new experiences and live each day to the fullest. And of course, we have to plan our destination wedding.
So thank you all for being so patient and understanding. We've really missed creating content for this channel, and we can't wait to share our future experiences with you.
We hope you enjoyed this summary of our thoughts and feelings of the last 2 years. Thank you guys so much for watching.